Hi guys. Today I wanted to talk about four of the 8 Sabbats. And for those of you that are not familiar with what a Sabbat is, that is considered a holiday that witches, pagans, typically follow and are thankful for. And we have 8 of them, and the 8 are on what is called the Wheel of the Year. Well, there are 4 that don't resonate with me, and I'm going to talk about those 4 as briefly as I can. Now, when I say that they don't resonate with me, that doesn't mean that I don't celebrate them. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate them and appreciate the work that the ancestors did and what life was like back then. It doesn't mean that I don't perhaps have a ritual for them or do an offering or say a prayer or give a blessing or anything like that. That isn't what I mean. What I mean is they're Sabbats that I just don't feel. I don't feel the energy of it. So Lunasa Lammas, being the first of the first Sabbat going into the dark half of the year, that is considered the first harvest. So, the farmers would plant their seeds in early spring, and then they nurture them and they take care of them, and summer solstice comes, so June and July, the crops are just bountiful. But by the time August gets here, they know that it's time, in most cases, it's time to harvest, to do that first harvest. So that's what Lunasa was all about. It is about doing the first harvest. The ancestors had to worry about winter, about getting through the harshness of winter. And so that first harvest was extremely important for them. They wanted to harvest as much as they could, and then they would prepare it and store it away for the winter months so that they could get through the winter months. Now, one of the reasons I don't feel Lunasa is because even though we are now descending into the dark half of the year, July and August, those are the hottest months of the year here in Eastern North Carolina. It is extremely hot in August, so humid, very hot in August. And I'm still in summer mode. I do not think about, when I harvest my own vegetables and my own plants, etc., I'm not in a mental place of Lunasa. I'm not in that place. And what I noticed, at least I noticed this year, because this was really prevalent for me this year, and I'm not really sure why, but what I did notice this year, or didn't notice, was that when Lunasa came around, at least here, we have a lot of rural areas here where I live. I sort of live out in the boonies. A lot of crops, a lot of corn crops, cornfields everywhere, tobacco fields, there's soy fields, different crops. They were not harvesting their crops at Lunasa. In fact, they only started harvesting their crops about 3 weeks ago. And so the crops were not ready at Lunasa to be harvested, at least here in Eastern North Carolina this year, where I live. So Lunasa is very hard for me to get in the mood for. I don't feel it. It's not cool. It's very hot and scorchy. It's like summer. And the other thing is Lunasa The first spelling of it is Lugh, and that is Lu. That is representative of the god Lu. And the god Lu he's a sun god. He's a sun god. He's a warrior. He's also a god of storms, thunderstorms, which we did have in August. But I don't follow Lu. I'm not going to say that I would never follow him. I'm just saying that right now, I don't follow him. We do not have a connection. So most likely, I would not have him represented on my altar. When I do ritual for Lunasa, which I have done, I have a generic masculine energy symbol that I will use on the altar to represent that masculine energy of Lunasa. And I might put some dried wheat or something like that on the altar to represent Lunasa. But it just doesn't resonate with me as a, oh, yay, kind of ritual. It's very hot. It's uncomfortable. Although summer solstice is very uncomfortable as well. And of course, that is one of my favorite times of year. It's my second favorite times of year. I love summer solstice. I'm a summer girl, Southern Cal, you know that. And I love summer solstice. And I love having ritual. My group and our class, we do a different kind of summer solstice. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. And so we really I look forward to summer solstice. But Lunasa, not so much. I don't really feel the energy of it. So that is one of the reasons why I don't personally have, I have had ritual in the past, but it isn't something that I look forward to doing ritual for. So I may just light a candle. I may just say a prayer or give a blessing, maybe leave an offering, something like that. But it isn't a big whoop-de-doo for me personally. And I say that with no disrespect, because I am grateful that the ancestors taught us about agriculture, and we learned through the ancestors about the seasons and when to do things and when not to do things. So I am appreciative for Lunasa. It just isn't one of my favorite Sabbats. Just isn't. So then that leads me into the autumn equinox, which is also known as Mabon, Mabon. Depends on where you're from and how you like to pronounce it. I do pronounce it Mabon when I use it. And it is also referred to as harvest home. I do prefer autumn equinox or harvest home. However, when you're talking, it's really easier to say Mabon. So a lot of times, again, I interchange those words constantly. But the autumn equinox is on the opposite side of the spring equinox, right? So the spring equinox falls into the light half of the year, and the autumn equinox is the dark half of the year. So there is a balance. So for me, the autumn equinox is about balance. It is about balance. Now, also, the autumn equinox is the pagan Thanksgiving. So we celebrate Thanksgiving using that word. We celebrate Thanksgiving or the season of Thanksgiving now in September. In fact, I believe it's tomorrow, the 22nd. However, I do know there are a lot of people celebrating it today, which is fine. It falls between, I want to say it falls between the 21st and the 23rd. If I'm not mistaken, I might be off a day or two. But it is a season. Remember, it is a season. It's not so much about the date because it was a season. I mean, the farmers didn't go out even Lunasa, the farmers didn't go out on that date and had to get everything harvested on that date. And that was the first harvest, by the way. Mabon is the second harvest. So it's not like, okay, oh no, you're wrong. Mabon is the 21st. Okay, well, they didn't just go out on the 21st and get all their crops harvested. It didn't happen. It would be impossible. They didn't do it. So it's a season. It's a season. So, but it is our Thanksgiving, where the majority of the population and even some pagans still celebrate Thanksgiving at Thanksgiving in November. At the autumn equinox or Mabon, when we celebrate our Thanksgiving, it's the same as Thanksgiving. The same foods basically are involved. That leads me to tell you why Mabon or Harvest Home doesn't really resonate with me. So I'm an only child raised by a single parent, my mother, who only had a sister that lived we lived in Southern California. She lived in San Francisco. My grandmother passed away when I was about 8 or 9. And so our family, and my aunt, now she has sons, but they were much older than I am, and I did not know them, with the exception of one who I did know. And my dad's side of the family, I was not part of, or my dad. So that doesn't exist. So it was really my mom, me, and when my aunt could make it down, she would come down. And now my aunt was a chef. She was a chef. So we would have these extravagant meals, right, for Thanksgiving. And this is one of the reasons why the autumn equinox, Mabon, Harvest Home, I don't really feel it. And this is why. I'm a very, very, very picky eater. My friends will tell you, those that know me know, I am a very picky eater. So I don't like Thanksgiving Day food. I will eat a little bit of turkey. I say little bit, like I'm talking 3 or 4 bites of turkey is all I can handle. I don't care for it. I do not like stuffing. I do not like yams or sweet potatoes. I don't like spinach, which is what they cook, or at least my family cooked spinach in California. Here on the East Coast, they cook collards. Oh, they stink. I hate them. I won't. No, don't like them. And let's see, what else? Pumpkin. I hate all things pumpkin. I do not like pumpkin. I hate all things pumpkin. So, and I do like cranberries, but not that thing that comes in a can. I don't even know what that thing is. What is that thing that comes in a can that's, you put it out and it still has the rings around it from the can? I'm sorry, that's not cranberry. If you make fresh cranberry sauce, I do like that. And I like to put that on the turkey because it covers the flavor of the turkey. So at Thanksgiving, I would have to have a special little, like my aunt would make like a little thing of mashed potatoes or something like that for me, or macaroni and cheese. I liked that back in the day. But I'm just not a fan of any of that. So I could have cared less about Thanksgiving. Now, I was grateful to have my aunt there, and I was grateful to have my mom, but it was not, again, it wasn't a big whoop-de-doo. We never did anything. They just cooked all day, and I played with my friends when I was young and did whatever I did as a teenager, and then when dinner time came, you had to sit down and you ate 2 or 3 bites of turkey, and then that was it. So the same thing goes for the autumn equinox Mabon. It is Thanksgiving Day foods, and so I'm not into that. I do not. Well, of course, it's just me and my husband. I don't have children, and my family is all gone now, and so we don't cook. Thanksgiving. Not into it. Don't cook it. Whatever we want to eat is what we'll eat for that day. It's no big deal. Used to get invited over to, and there was a time that we used to get invited over to, family and friends, and it was always so uncomfortable for me because I knew that this is a big thing, right? It's a big family woo-doo. There's all these people all around, and here I am looking ungrateful, but I'm not. I appreciate all the hard work that went into the cooking of this meal, but I don't like any of this food, and so I'm really not into Mabon for that reason. It's the energy behind it. However, I am extremely grateful, and I do give gratitudes, and I do light candle on that day or as close to that day as possible for if I'm at home and when we have our dinner, whatever that would be. I mean, it could be a grilled cheese sandwich as far as I know, and I will have a candle and, give some gratitude out for that. This year we'll be having a ritual in our classroom with the class. So my group and our class will be having ritual on Wednesday night. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay. The other thing about Mabon is there's really not a deity that is associated with Mabon per se, except Mabon himself. And he's not really a god. He's really not a god. I mean, it depends on which myth you read. It depends on what story you read. But it's okay. I mean, that's fine. You don't have to. There's a lot of people, a lot of witches and a lot of pagans out there that don't work with deity. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Nothing. All right. The other Sabbat that I don't resonate with is Ostara. And Ostara is the spring equinox. Now, I adore the spring equinox. Don't get me wrong, because I am a summer girl. When spring equinox comes around, when springtime comes around, I'm jumping up and down for joy. Even though here in Eastern North Carolina, for me, it's still very, very cold. For me, it's still cold. I mean, it's got to be over 75 degrees before I'm comfortable, and even then I'll have a sweater or something on. I mean, I'm like the 80s person. I like warm. I don't like humidity. But I like summer. So the problem I have with Ostara is it's so I'm so tired of it before it even gets here. Even though Ostara has nothing to do with Easter, it is so frilly. It's very frilly. Everything is pastel, little pretty flowers everywhere, and Easter bunnies and little baby chicks and peeps, whatever those things are made out of. I have no idea. I've tried one when I was young. I will never eat one again. I don't even know what that is. And I'm not into that. That aesthetic does not appeal to me. So it sort of puts a damper on how I feel about spring. Now, or not spring, how I feel about Ostara, or the spring equinox. Now, again, I love the spring equinox, and we have had a couple of rituals for the spring equinox that have been amazing. Having to deal with the spring equinox, not so much the frilliness of how I feel about Ostara, if that makes sense. Not to say that I don't understand the process of the Wheel of the Year, because I very much do, and I get what Ostara is about. And however, it doesn't resonate with me. And but we usually do have an Ostara ritual every year, and I prefer to theme it spring equinox and get the fluffy out of it and go deeper into spring and what that is and what it means and what's going to come of it. So we try to really take that path when we're doing our spring equinox rituals. Okay, so now I want to talk about, before I tell you my fourth one, I want to talk about Ostara, and then we have summer solstice, right? Midsummer, which is also called Litha, and then we have the autumn equinox, which is also called Mabon. Okay, those three words, Ostara, Litha, Mabon. Those were decided on by a gentleman named Aidan Kelly back in the 1960s or 1970s. And for whatever reason, he decided that spring and autumn equinox and midsummer or summer solstice was not pagany enough. So he renamed those Sabbats, and for whatever reason, the neo-pagans accepted that. And so when you read in books, you're going to hear those words most commonly used. And I do teach those words, Ostara and Litha and Mabon. But those were words that didn't come into the pagan community, to our community, until around, it was like the 1960s or the 1970s, somewhere within there. Those were not words. Our ancestors did not know their words. They knew autumn equinox, spring equinox, midsummer, or summer solstice. That's what they knew. So that kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth a little bit for the use of those words only. But I still use them. They're in, it's what we know. It's what's out there. Okay, so then the last Sabbat, and sit down for this one, is Yule. The winter solstice, Yule. Winter is not part of my vocabulary. I'm summer through and through. Heat. I want winter. I want summer. I'm not wintry. I don't like winter. Winter is a time to bundle up and wear clothes and gloves and a hat, and your feet are cold and your hands are cold and your nose is dripping and it's red and your lips are chapped and you have to stay inside with the heater, which dries out your skin. And I'm not into all that. I'm not. I am not. I like summer. I want to be outside in shorts and a t-shirt and barefoot. I want to ground and connect with Mother Earth. I don't want to wear shoes. So I have an issue. I take issue with the winter solstice for that reason. Just for that reason. I don't like winter. Doesn't mean that I don't understand the intensity and the meaning behind winter solstice and how our seasons rotate around that wheel and what that represents. It's huge. And a lot of pagans that I know, it's huge for them. And it is, what it means is huge for me. Huge. I follow it. I live it as best as I can. Doesn't mean that it resonates with me. One of the reasons is because it's Christmas time, even though Yule is the 21st usually of December, the actual date, and Christmas is the 25th. In July, every store is filled with Christmas stuff, Santa and his reindeer and all the foo-foo of Christmas. And no disrespect to Christmas itself. I'm just saying that where's the Yule things? So by the time Yule gets here, I'm sick of seeing winter decor, Christmas decor. I'm tired of it. So there again, I'm not a winter person, but I love and appreciate the meaning and the tradition of Yule. And I prefer to go deeper into Yule as opposed to trees and ornaments and, snowflakes and all of that stuff. That doesn't resonate with me. It does not. I don't feel that in my soul. So those are kind of the reasons why. Those are the 4 Sabbats that just don't resonate with me, and usually it either has to do with the weather, or or my preference of season, and has nothing to do with the actual meaning of the Sabbat. And we always have ritual at Yule. We always have ritual at Yule, and we try to make it a little more, not quite so fluffy, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use that word. So Christmassy feel to it, but we've had Yule rituals where it has been, and they've been a lot of fun. So so there you go. And my husband and I mean, it's just us. We don't have any family, like I said, and we don't do gift giving at all throughout the year for anything. No birthdays, anniversaries, Valentine's Day, any of that stuff. We don't do it. Pardon me. Sorry, I have incense burning and I inhaled it. Ooh. Okay, so that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Those are the 4 Sabbats that don't resonate with me, only for those reasons and those reasons alone. Has nothing to do with the Sabbat itself. Does not mean that I don't honor it, and that I'm not grateful for it, and that I don't understand the whole wheel. But interesting. So that being said, I will wish everybody a great autumn equinox. I pulled a star tarot card as representation for the autumn equinox. The star for me is about balance. Most tarot cards, or let's use Rider-Waite themed tarot cards. There's a woman with 1 foot in a creek or a river, and 1 foot on land, and she has 2 pitchers or 2 vessels that she's pouring water from, and it's that connection of stay grounded on land, earth, Mother Earth, 1 foot in the water, keeping that 1 foot on connected. Don't get too emotional and too involved with what's not involved, but don't let the emotional side of what's happening in the world today upset you. Find that balance between the emotional and the physical, and this is the balanced time of the year. Autumn equinox, spring equinox. This is the balance, and I think we could all use that. So that being said, I wish you all a wonderful autumn equinox. May Ben harvest home. May the harvest, the bounty of the harvest, bring you many blessings and good health as always. Bye, guys.